Alright, so let's talk about your first project, the Excel gradebook. So what we're going to have here is a scenario where a fellow Ivy Tech student is taking a class, and here is the criteria for the class. You have a midterm, a final, homework, papers, and quizzes. Then on the right you'll see what all the different weights are. Here's just a reminder of what scores you need to get what grade. Alright, for each of these categories then, he has a certain number of assignments. Okay, midterm and final, there's only one of each of those. Papers, there's going to be 2 papers, and a bunch of quizzes and a bunch of homework. Alright, so our first goal here is let's set up a spreadsheet to create an Excel spreadsheet to calculate the final grade. Alright, so here's all the following things that are required. You put your name and different stuff on there. Also, you're going to want to use these categories. So those categories are on there. And use the correct weights. So I want to talk a little bit how to do that. So you'll open up a spreadsheet, and this is going to be a blank one. You'll have to fill this stuff out. But a nice organization is to list all your categories on the left, and then have a category for, or a column for average, column for weight, and here's where you're going to do your formula, where you take the value times the weight, and put that there. What I have on the right are all of my individual scores. Okay, these numbers right here, they come from the numbers right here. One thing that's very important is that you have one per cell. Alright, now over here I can start plugging in my averages. And for the final, this is going to be 78, midterm 74. But for these other ones, there's more than one number. So we're going to have to take an average of those. So if we remind ourselves, the formula is equals average, open up parentheses, then just highlight everything you need. And there you go. There's the average. Now I could type it in again for the other ones, or I can click on this cell, move my cursor until it turns black in the bottom right corner, drag it all the way over, let go. And that's really cool. Now I want to show you something else that's kind of cool. I don't want to type the 74 for the midterm. What I want to do is I want this cell to be this number. So I just want this to move over here. So I can tell Excel that I want this to equal that number. It should be 74. I want my final to equal this number. That's 78. I want my homework to equal this number. And I might be thinking, what's the point of doing this? Why can't I just type in the number? Well, there's 2 big advantages to this. One, I don't want to type in 81.083333 repeating. There's an infinite number of 3's. I can't even type them in. So by referencing that cell, it saves me that issue. Okay, quizzes is equal to that. And here's the second reason. Later on in the project, if we kind of go back to the Word file, there's a scenario section. This section is really fun. This will say, what happens if you score certain things. So here it says what happens if you score a 0 on the last 2 homework assignments. So I'm going to go over to here. I can just take these and make them both zeros. And what happened was this average changed. Because now I'm averaging the same numbers, but these 2 are zeros. And then just undo that real quick. Okay, so it was an 81 average. And I plugged in 0, 0, and it dropped all the way to a 65 average. Okay, now this time, I want you to notice this number up here. That's 65 as well. I didn't actually change it, but because this number changed, that one changes. So by referencing these cells, this is going to make it easier for that part right there. Okay, so then the last thing we want to do is we want to figure out the final grade. And so this is category times weight. This is going to equal the category times the weight. Right, and that 18% is basically what you achieved from the midterm. Right, and we're going to take this, we can drag it down, And these are our individual pieces. You want to add them all up in this cell to get your final grade. Okay, so that's kind of that's the spreadsheet. You want to make sure you organize that. Another thing that I would do here, go back, is let's put some borders on this. So highlight your table, and you want to go to Format Cells, make a nice border on it. Outline, border on the inside. Do something like that. You can even, if you want to be really fancy, go here and put like a background color on it. So make sure that your final tables look a little bit fancier than mine look right now. So do some editing to make it nice. Okay, so that's the Excel sheet. And then basically you're going to be doing a lot of explaining in the parts after this. So write a paragraph to explain how it was calculated, what's the final grade, what would it need to get in the final and move up to the next grade. That's where you can go over here and you can start changing this number to different things and see how this final grade is affected. And then once you get the answer, then go from there. So do some changes here. We got the scenario problems. These problems on here are actually different than what's on yours. This was an old version of this sheet. I modified it, so you won't actually see these 3 questions, but they'll be very similar questions. All right. And then you have a few more questions down here. This is the one talking about what did you learn. So just have fun with the project and good luck.